problem with debt. Debt now is much more expensive than it was. We had a very long period, really, debt in the mining industry was really quite cheap, but it always really carried that risk with it. In the end, when you really kind of look at how debt fits in the world, there's very few providers of debts. There's very few banks that are willing to do it. And in fact, as every year passes by, there's less and less banks that are actually interested in providing that debt.
First of all, something that people may not be fully aware of is that China does have a very active domestic mining industry. It's one of the largest gold producing nations in the world. It has, surprisingly, maybe for my Australian country people, it's a very large iron ore producer. Of the 1.2, 1.3 billion tonne of iron ore that are consumed by China's steel mills, maybe 200 to 300 million tonne of that is produced in Chinese iron ore mine.
So we've got to do a better job of promoting the industry. It's got such a negative image because when you do hear about mining in the news, it's usually negative. It's usually a disaster of some sort, or tailings failure, or miners trapped underground, or whatever the case might be. And so we've got to start putting out good stories about what we've done and what has been accomplished on the positive side. Because my father came from the mining industry, and he used to always tell me, mining is a noble industry you should be proud of. And I absolutely agree with that. And I think we don't do a good enough job promoting it.
I think they forget that what we produce, the metals we produce, are the magic that makes society work. And we need more young people, particularly young women, to be able to tell that story. So I think one thing the government do is to change the narrative, rather than a grisly old baby boomers talking about how great mining is. Maybe smart young female brilliant engineers talking about the magic of metals. So that changes the narrative and gets more young people involved.
I think if you look at the size of the country and where it is geographically and the age of the rocks there, I think there's enormous potential for mining in Nigeria. The Mining Act is enabling. The legal environment is very compelling. It's politically stable. So these are all the inputs that you need to develop a successful mining sector. We've had one, should I say, quote unquote, success story in Thor managing to build a gold mine.
There are the companies that not only have the concept and the idea, but they've been exploring on the same area for a very long time. So they understand the geology, they understand the data, they understand what's there and what's not there. They know how to move. They have a very clear understanding of who are the stakeholders, how to engage with those stakeholders. And when you think about how large is the junior market and how many companies are out there, they pretty much cover the globe.
So we're in a very good jurisdiction. We in Kosovo, and we have a large land package with lots of very exciting prospects that we're following up. So I was drawn to Beowulf because each of the three projects has merit on its own. I think having the portfolio makes it a particularly exciting opportunity and plenty of optionality to grow the business.
Ariana has for the best part of 2 decades, it's focused on its Turkish portfolio. And it was a natural place for the company to commence its operations, especially given my Turkish background. It was just a natural place for us to start off. But, as an exploration company, we knew that our horizons were never supposed to be absolutely fixed and limited to the international borders of Turkey. We always had longer term plans and ambitions.
Look, when I joined, we had a very diverse portfolio of projects, and sometimes as a junior that can be just too many. So, you don't have the funds, you don't have the workforce to really work on each of the projects. So I felt it was important that we narrow our focus, and that's where I looked at my skill sets and the other directors' skill sets, and that's where the uranium project sort of stood out. So that was one side of things. The other side is obviously, uranium, nuclear power at the moment is really at, a very favourable position.